Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world and listening to this broadcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Striving to Thriving LinkedIn Live show, where we redefine success. I'm your host, Barbara Ellison. I'm founder of Wellness Playroom for the best version of you. And my special co-host right now is Kian Frith. So Kian, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, your 30-second little pitch, and then we'll talk. We're going to have a great conversation about how all of us have had to redefine success in our lives. So
Fantastic.
Kian.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm Kian. I'm co-founder of KV Impact Consulting down here in San Antonio, Texas. I am a qualified accountant, but I'm a business enabler, and I love just helping business owners realize potential that they didn't even realize they had. So try to take a bit like a business alchemist, take the dross and turn it to gold. So that's me. I am joined today by three incredible gentlemen. Randy, let's start with yourself. So I've known Randy for a little bit of time now. Randy and I got to know each other. He's an awesome networker, just an incredible individual. I count him as a friend and a fellow believer. But Randy, 30 seconds just to introduce yourself. You're on mute, my friend.
About that. Oh, here we go. Had to start off the show
Rookie
right.
mistake.
So my name is Randy Ojeda. I'm actually native to San Antonio, Texas, born and raised. Grew up here on the southwest side of town. I work for a company called Employer Flexible. Wonderful organization. Does have a local office here in San Antonio, and I work with small to medium-sized businesses to just support them in their everyday roles when it comes to managing all tasks of HR, payroll, benefits, workers' compensation, risk and safety. And really my mission out here in my local market is to connect with business owners and impact what matters to them and to their bottom line, and really transform their business into a place where employees can come and enjoy working for them.
Fantastic. And Randy is also heavily involved in the community as well. I mean, Randy is generally everywhere, which is just awesome. I'm also joined today by Kevin. Kevin and I met a few months ago through his wife initially at church. And Kevin he's an interesting guy. He's also Marine Corps veteran, and we thank you for your service, sir. But Kevin is an attorney and mediator with a wealth of experience. But Kevin, please introduce yourself.
No, thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you. My name is Kevin Cheney. I'm an attorney, and I practice principally in business law, real estate law, wills and trusts. And I'm a lifelong serial entrepreneur, and I love working with other entrepreneurs. As iron sharpens iron, one person sharpens another. Proverbs 27:17. And whenever I think of entrepreneurs, I think of that verse. So I've tailored my practice to accommodate, support entrepreneurs, small businesses. That's the backbone of our economy. And I love helping sharpen them, and I love getting sharpened in return. So that's how I spend my day. And I've had a few what I thought were going to be careers turned out to be jobs, stops along the way. But like perhaps a lot of our viewers, I made a transition very late in life to go back into back into law practice.
I like it full time.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Kevin, we're so thrilled that you can be on this today. And then last and not least, Austin and I met at a CRIT walk around, I think it was, many months ago. So Children's Rehabilitation Institute Telecom here in San Antonio, amazing facility. And then after that, well, look, if you're watching this live right this second, you'll understand that when you start to listen to Austin, he's a unique character. He's highly infectious. He's great to spend time with. Aside from all the fun things, he is actually a very good wealth manager as well. So Austin, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Kian, and thank you for the opportunity to join you this morning. My name is Austin Lane. I'm a certified financial planner. the founder and main financial advisor at Greenwing Wealth Management. We're based in Helotes, Texas, which is just outside of San Antonio, but we service pretty much the entire South Texas area. Yeah, I mean, really at our core, we're about education and we're about fun. It is wealth planning, investments in general, I think are a daunting topic. And so our whole purpose is to try and take the edge off of that and just make it relatable in an engaging and a fun way. Because if it's looked at it like a chore, at least maybe we can add some fun to that chore, perhaps get some better outcomes for clients along the way. That's kind of the whole tilt of how we go about it.
I love it. There's not much else I'm going to add right this second.
Okay, well, I'm just going to share just a little bit of what I do. My little 30-second. I work with late career professionals who are facing retirement, and they have no idea of who they are outside of their job title or their job description. Their health might be falling, they're noticing some health challenges. And what am I going to do when I don't have the paycheck? And so that's what I do. That's why I founded Wellness Playroom for the best version of you. Let's get you started before you retire. So I'm just really excited about all the things. And that came from my own journey. So I'll just share my journey, and then Kian, I'm going to give it over to you. And then we're going to have a great conversation. It started when my husband passed away 13 years ago. And when I woke up from my widow's fog, I realized that I had absolutely no idea of who I was outside of all the labels that I had put on myself, of being a daughter, and then being a wife, and then being a mother, and then being a divorced failure, and then being a successful wife again, and then being a grandmother and a business owner. And now I'm a widow. Who is Barbara in all of that? And I had absolutely no idea, but realized that I had to find out. So that started my journey of just finding out who I was. So that has become now my mission, because now as we get older, so many, especially men, and I'm in man heaven here, just saying I'm in man heaven, that so often we don't know who we are outside of our job title or our job description. And so that has been just absolutely the mission of my heart, to help people to find out who they are, what they do, and why they do it. So it's just been absolutely an amazing journey. And Kian and I had a great conversation. So Kian, take it away.
But hey, I love what you're saying there, because we're joined. Well, you're joined today by us four guys, and you say you're a man heaven, but it's really interesting. When each of us have introduced ourselves, and we've talked about our corporate experience. But I know these three other guys on this call. I know them well. And when you know them as friends, you know the things that they're doing outside of that corporate. And this is one of the aspects I love with these guys, and being able to bring them onto this call today, is actually they have a life outside of the office. Kevin, you were sharing that, you've been a serial entrepreneur, you've come back into things, and I'm kind of looking at the white beard. I don't think it's a stick on, so you're not the youngest of gentlemen, if you don't mind me saying, but you love what you do, but you have a life outside of what you're doing as well.
Right.
What I'm kind of intrigued in today is, for each of us, we've got to this point in life now where actually we have work, we have life, we have community, we have church, we have things going on right at the moment. But what's your story? What's the backstory maybe for one of you guys here today that has led you to be where you're at today, where maybe you're feeling a very different place to what you were a number of years ago? So is there maybe someone would like to just kick off with maybe a bit of backstory? You look like you're nodding away there, Austin. So go for it.
I'm always afraid how early you want me to just hop in.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just thinking, do Randy and Kevin, do you want to talk at all before Austin takes over for the next hour?
It's fine. Let Austin go. We'll cut him off. No problem.
Okay, that's perfect. We're all in agreement.
Yeah, I feel free to mute me anytime.
No, you're good. Go on. You've got wisdom to share. Go on, my friend.
I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur. My parents are boomers. I kind of have this view of the last 100 years in America, going back to the greatest generation, and just the way that synced up with the economic development and growth of America. And it's really shaped the cultures and generations that have come. And so my grandparents, fought in the war. Then they came home, had my parents, the boomers, if you will. And that was in the backs of an enormous industrial boom that was created mostly to supply for the war. And so there's massive growth in industrial manufacturing. And that opened up huge areas of opportunity in corporate America. You needed managers. You needed all these people. So go to college, get a great job. That's just how it worked out. That is not how it works out for people today, in my very humble opinion. You go to college, and maybe that's fine and well, depending on what you're trying to do. But I think I did that. Went to San Diego State, got my degree in finance, graduated in the midst of the financial crisis of 08, 09, kind of spread. And then when I graduated, there wasn't that job, that finance job, that middle management job. It just doesn't exist. These companies have redeployed their resources to sales and to essential management. And so that was kind of the first push into, hey, I hope you like sales, because that's what you're going to need to do. And it's really just led a gradual experience into understanding that everybody's in sales. Like it chaps me a little bit when people say they're not in sales. You are in sales. Sales is just a transfer of a belief from one person to another. So if you are a human being with any convictions at all, you are in sales. And then that's just kind of started this path. I tried to do what I do in corporate America. I did what I do in corporate America until it just became untenable. And I had a lot of great leaders. I had a lot of great influences in my life that showed me, like, hey, you don't want to keep participating in Stockholm syndrome. You need to go out and spread your wings and see what you're about. And so that's how I ended up independent. And 3 years ago. Yep.
Sorry. You said a word there about you got to a point where it became untenable. A change needed to occur. What did you see in your life that was untenable at that point, that was forcing you to then pivot, make a change, do something different?
I'm just a big believer in individuality and the uniqueness of every human being. At my core, I just think everybody is so unique. And so special in that regard. And I think corporate America does a great job of creating profits and efficiency and blah, 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 but they don't do a good job of caring about people. Like I don't know how else to put that. My favorite analogy is McDonald's. Like everybody uses McDonald's as the example of scale and efficiency, but you can't eat McDonald's every day. You can't. Like you are a human being. You have to think critically about your tastes, your preferences, and who you're trying to be. And so corporate America's value proposition to people is, hey, fold into us, do what we ask you to do, whether you're a consumer or an employer. And I just don't think that, I think in 50 years from now, I think there's going to be a lot of people who look back and think, man, I really did only have one go through. I sure wish that I bet on myself a little bit more.
Very good. Very good. I appreciate that kind of response. You're talking a lot about sales there, and Randy, if we were to cut your vein and open you up a bit, I think it would say sales, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm wondering whether that there's any aspect of what Austin shared there that kind of resonates with you as well, of some of your journey and some 100%. Of the backstory you have.
Yeah, 100%. I've always been a salesperson ever since I was a kid. I grew up on the rougher side of San Antonio. And with the path that I've taken, a lot of the people that I grew up with were not looking at education, not looking at, going to college. They were, just kind of running around doing bad stuff. And I kind of felt like that wasn't my purpose. And as I grew up, I got the opportunity to change into a different school, and it kind of propelled me into where I wanted to be in life. And as I was growing up, I remember one thing is that I love to talk to people, and I love to help make connections, and I love to sell stuff. So I would literally go and pick up pecans in my yard and put them into plastic bags and then take them to school and sell them to the teachers, because I was like, well, I'm going to make some money. And that's what I was about. I was about, the journey of, hey, can I make some money? Can I help the family? And it came to the point where my mom was like, hey, what, you've got like $100 here. Where did you get this money from? And her thought process is, the people around the neighborhood, they're not doing great things and they're getting money the wrong way. And I was like, well, I picked up all the pecans in the yard. I bagged them all. I got about 20 bags of pecans and I sold them at school, and $3 for the little bag and $5 for the big bag. And she was like, oh, and I said, hey mom, it's for you to go out and buy clothes for me and my brother. So just, and that's kind of where it started. Right. And it just kind of propelled me. So then after that, I started, popping up my own little candy store basically at my house. All the neighborhood kids would come in, buy candy from me. We'd go to Mexico, buy a bunch of candy and sell it there. And then after that, I ended up started working at a theme park here, a local theme park in San Antonio. And the day I found out that I was making a percentage of my sales was the day that I broke all the records there in that theme park for that vending company. And they were like, wow, you're just a go-getter. And I'm like, hey, when it comes to sales, I really love and I enjoy doing it. It's always been at the core of me. And I went to school for music, and I can play multiple instruments, and it just, music's great. It's a great passion of mine. I do it on the side, but really sales is the number one thing that I love to do. And it's always been a fire under me. And that's kind of why I took this position here with this great company that I'm with right now, because they allow me to be that salesperson, kind of like what Austin was saying, where you're corporate and they don't do a really good job of being an individual. With this company, they do a really good job of letting me be an individual, letting me come on things like this talk show and really kind of give that personal touch and feel. Because what I tell my clients is, hey, you're not a client of Employer Flexible 100%. You're also a client of Randy Ojeda, and I am the person that shows up for you day in and day out and make sure that your business is running and our promises are kept. Because at the end of the day, it's my name on the line, not just Employer Flexible. So just a little bit about the whole, cut my veins and I will bleed, SALES. So
very, very good. Now, Austin and Randy, sales kind of approach, corporate. Kevin, that's not necessarily your kind of experience. Entrepreneur, Hong Kong, China. You've been in the midst, probably, I'd imagine, an awful lot of change. I'm wondering, when you've been working as an entrepreneur, you've seen things that need to change, maybe within the business, within the cultures that you've been experiencing. Maybe talk us through some of your experience there.
Well, I haven't been in sales, direct sales, but a lot of what Austin and Randy have said resonates with me. Mine's a variation, I think, on the same theme, in that I was always marketing myself or getting a product into the stream of commerce. And so there was direct sales. I started out practicing law, and one of my clients had an import-export company bringing in kitchen and gourmet hardwood goods from Asia. And so they asked me to invest, and I did. And we took this little company and we really blew it up. I was in charge of marketing, and we got into 2,500 doors. I was telling Barbara, I did a lot of trade shows in Chicago, Vegas, San Francisco, wherever I could get into a trade show, I was there. And so that was direct sales, business to business. But we were undercapitalized. So we had built this strong demand coupled with an undercapitalized infrastructure, which leads to dissatisfied clients, which is a death spiral. And it wiped me out. It took everything I had. And I found myself at, I think I was 44 at the time, and I was bankrupt. I lost everything, lost my house and everything. Fortunately, I got recruited by a manufacturer to go to China and set up an operation for them there. They wanted to offshore. And so I went, and 15 months later, I started my own company with a partner out of Seattle. We're at a Mariners game, had a hot dog, shook hands, and started a company. And 12 years later, we were building retail displays for outdoor lifestyle brands mostly. We would build, if you name an outdoor lifestyle brand or a sports brand, and there's a good chance that we built store displays for them. And after 12 years, I was living and working in China full time. And it just had enough. For the first 7 years, it was this great cultural anthropological experience. But probably the last 6 years, I was planning my exit. That finally came after 12 years, and I came back here, and at then 56, I had no idea what am I going to do. And so I dabbled a little bit in investment, but I knew I had to do something impactful. And I wasn't the retiring type, and really couldn't retire in the fashion that I wanted to. So after some years of that, I had been licensed to practice law in Nebraska for, at that point, 25 years. But because I hadn't made my income principally from the practice of law for 5 of the last 7, I couldn't just motion into Texas while I was living here. And so I had to set for the Texas bar. So at 63, I decided I'm going to set for the Texas bar. And I'm in a room full, San Antonio. We had 283 test takers, and they're all 27. And here I am with the white beard. And but you know, it was a great experience. And I knew that at that point, that's what led up to having to do something different and having to do something impactful. And so now I get to actually help other people thrive as well. I love, like I said, working with entrepreneurs and small businesses, and I can help them lay a foundation so they can thrive, and I can help put in those safeguards, help them with the safeguards that keep them within the boundaries so that they can continue to thrive and grow. So that's, I guess that's where my decision story and my pivot came.
I love that, and I'm sure as you were sharing, then Kevin, I could see Barbara nodding away. You know, when you got to that that point of going, what am I going to kind of do now? You know, just and Barbara, you see that all the time, don't you?
Oh, you know, I think one of the things that happens to so many people, and I think many of us have been brought up, and those, especially those of a certain age, we've been brought up that if we do this, we're going to have that, and we're going to become this. Well, for me, I've just totally turned it around. Become who you are meant to be. Be that authentic person that you are supposed to be. Because once you have embraced who you are and who you are supposed to be, God-given talents, God-given skills, then once you become that, then you're going to know what you want to do, whether it's a job or a career or a mission or a calling, a purpose, your passion, whatever that is. And then once you know how to do that, you're going to have everything. Sure. Everything that you want. You can be happy, do life, have everything. And it's like, oh yeah. And it's just so, I love when I see somebody's light bulb go on. I remember, I'll give you one example. I had a guy, he was telling me he was all about e-commerce, and he was in his 30s. And we were talking, and I said, so you've just told me all these things that you're doing. Can I ask you a question? He said, well, sure. And I said, well, who are you in all that? Crickets.
Yeah.
He was like, what? I said, who are you within all of that? But then he said the right thing. He said, that's a really interesting question. And I knew he would start the journey. And it's just getting them to that moment, that who are you within what you do? Like for me, I'm a senior. I'm a successful, energetic, no nonsense, inspiring, outrageous rebel looking for her next adventure.
I love it. I love it.
And when you get to that point, it changes everything. It changes the trajectory of your life. It changes who you are. It doesn't change who you are, but it makes you the best version of you.
Sure. So a question then to folk. It'd be very easy for most of us to just go through our corporate journey and get to a point where we are seniors, and then just then go, well, who am I now? What am I going to do? I'm about to retire with all the wealth that Austin's enabled me to gain over the last umpteen years. But who am I? So how do you avoid that? How do you avoid that just being stuck in corporate and then getting to that point? I've heard the likes of like Dr. Brent Fessler here in San Antonio talking about how people should be working on their personal vision and mission statements much earlier on, so that actually they do understand who they are, and where they're going. Randy, you're nodding there. Is that something that you've done, thought about?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we take a look at that, and I think one of the things that y'all have mentioned is that we go through that corporate setting, and I've been through there. I've been through that corporate setting myself. Coming out of college, went right into that corporate setting and the stock and options. That's where I started my whole career, and everybody tells you this is what you should do, this is where you should go, this is how you should play, and if you stick to that, you're going to have everything you want, the money, the cars, and then you start realizing, who am I? Where's my individuality? What do I really want out of life? Right? Am I just here for money, or is there something more than that? And I think I found that along my journey, going through from corporate setting to corporate setting. And after a while, I really looked at, okay, what to the core, what do I like to do? Right. And I like to talk, I like to converse, I like to connect people, I like to have fun, and I love the outdoors. And so, I really look at, okay, how do I incorporate all of that into what I want to do with life? Right. And so I left the corporate setting, and I went to go work for a mom and pop shop in the insurance industry, selling, property and casualty insurance. And I loved it. I loved it. I mean, it was just the best thing ever. I was able to run free the way I wanted to run. I was able to talk the way I wanted to talk to people, straightforward, honest, and just be a genuine person with people and show them this is how, this is how I can help you. This is what it looks like for you on paper. And here's what, here's what the cost is. Here's what the investment is. Here's where you're at. And if you want to be here, this is how we can get there, and we looked at all the lines of insurance and how to protect their assets and things of that nature. And I love that setting. So that was just one piece that kind of took me over into becoming more of the person that I wanted to be. And I really can't thank corporate America enough for that, because without going through that setting, I don't think I would have found who I really wanted to be. I probably would have still been floating around trying to put my roots somewhere. And I found my roots. I found who I am. And like you said, Kian, I love to network. I love to meet people. And that's how we met a couple of years ago. And I think I've kind of knocked Kian doors down after 2 years. He probably was like, who's this joker? Get away from me. But I think breaking bread with somebody and having a beer or a drink or whatever they enjoy, whether it be a soft drink or a hard drink, whatever it may be, I think those are the prime things of really getting to know somebody on a personal level, because you want to do business with people that you like and people that will become friends. And I think that's so important in life is to honor those bonds and friendships, because that's really all you take with you. So.
What? Sorry, go on, Kevin. Oh, you're on mute.
There was background mute. So
following up on what Randy said, I think you talk about an assessment for us. My wife, who is my wise counsel and biggest supporter, she always says, what do you have in your hand? And so when somebody's looking to make a transition, I always think about that. What do you have in your hand? And Randy listed the things that he had in his hand at the time, the things that he truly loved, that he was passionate about. What do you have in your hand? And to couple that with just a household financial practice that we do at home that you can do in your personal life with your career. And that's, every 3 months, sit down and go, where are we? Have I achieved what I wanted to do? What do we not need? Let's get rid of it. What are we not using? Let's not pay for it. But you can do the same thing when you're trying to decide how you're going to transition, where you're going to transition to. And I think that's really a valuable perspective. What do you have in your hand? And what has the last 3 months, 6 months looked like? The whole purpose of a business plan is to create goals and markers and give you an objective set of criteria to determine if you're making it where you want to go. Well, the same applies in your personal life, in your relationships, and in your own personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
One of the things that brings to mind, last night I was bowling, joined a bowling league for the first time in like 30 years. But when I came home, it was like, as I was just getting into the bowling again, it was like, okay, Barbara, slow down, focus on the spot that you want to hit, and then make sure you follow through. So I came home and I went, you know what? Life lessons lived in the bowling alley. And so I did a TikTok about, life lessons learned on the lanes. And it's like, it's absolutely true. We live, or we can live through that knowing that, oh yeah, this is how I want to live my life. These are the things that make me happy, or these are the things that make me feel contented, or these are the things that make me feel fulfilled. What happens lots of times, the ones that I run into, is people that have kind of graduated into family businesses. Yeah. And they're in their and why are you in that? Well, because it's my family business. It's my family's business. Yeah, but who are you? What do you want to do? Is it for you? And surprisingly, so many people say, yeah, no, I just fell into it because it was a family business.
So true. Go on, Austin. You look like you're almost bursting with excitement to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see the vein? It's just, I'm getting hyped is what's happening. I'm listening to everybody. I'm getting psyched. I don't even know what direction to go. I mean, all I would throw in is, the average golfer doesn't break 100, despite what they tell you. They don't break 100. But if you really want to get good at golf, you hang out with good golfers. That's honestly, that's it. And so I think there's a number of things that could happen in life. I think when I think about myself and when I think about people and their ability or decision to progress or not progress, I think we as human beings think of our decisions as spectrums rather than binary questions. And that is step one, realizing, like, if you want it, yes or no, reduce it down. Yes or no. Do you want to do this? Do you not want to do this? Well, I would if but you'll never escape that spectrum swamp. You have to reduce this down to a choice and then pursue it come hell or high water. And people just they stay on this spectrum. They stay in this apathetic place, thinking maybe I could if I would, or would if I could, but they don't. And I just think there's so much to life. Like, you can do whatever you want. Why can't you? Don't make this harder than it has to be.
And that's a really, really interesting point. So if I speak personally, I've been here in America for just over a year. I came from Britain, as you like to call it. I was living in England. Culture here is so different, and I could choose to continue living the way I was living with an Englishman's mentality, or I could embrace the opportunity here in America. I could make the choice, and I've been very fortunate that I've been able to embrace the change and make the choice to live in a culture and an economy, a beautiful state of Texas, where it's a land of opportunity, and there's so much possibility plugged into a fantastic church, just starting to really grow and develop, and now probably getting to a point of really thriving. It took time to lay foundations down. It took time to just discover who I was here in America, because it's so different culturally. And Kevin, I'm sure that, you know, being an American, having worked in China, it took you time to discover who you were in that cultural setting and find your feet. And I've had to go through exactly the same thing, but I made a choice. I made a decision to go, I'm going to embrace this because this is awesome, you know? But it's interesting. You said there a moment ago, Austin, that we have a choice. And the way I look at maybe some of the people around me is that they have the opportunity to make the choice, but they decide not to. They decide to keep on going down the same path that they've always been on. They haven't broken free of their environment like Randy did, even at a young age, selling his pecans. Sorry. I had to make sure I get the pronunciation right there. I was going to do an English style, at which point I was waiting for all those virtual slaps. But you made that choice to break out of what was considered the norm at a young age. And isn't it a shame when you look in on society going, man, like if you guys just made a choice, you could make such a difference to your life and the lives of the people around you. If you stayed in the environment you were born into, Randy, and hadn't made that choice, imagine what the impact would have been on your immediate family then and your family now, which is so different, you know?
Agreed. You know what? It's funny that you say that, you know, people just kind of stay on that path. And I think that I've seen a lot of people on the path. I have friends that are on the path, and I've got a lot of friends that and these friends are from high school and from college, that they consult me and they ask me for advice and what, you know, what's the next step, because they see me living, you know, that kind of, not a carefree mentality, but more of a acute, like, hey, I'm on the right path mentality. I'm not on a path that someone chose for me. I'm on a path that I chose. And I think that one of the things that stops people from choosing their path rather than being told that path is fear. And fear is a powerful thing. When you conquer your fear, you kind of level up. You become the next version of yourself. And I think that failure, the fear of failure, is what causes people to say, I don't want to tread down that path, even though I really like it. And I want to maybe open up my own business, or do comedy, or become a singer, or go ahead and do some of this other area of business that I want to do, rather that takes away from what I'm doing today, or transition into a different position. People have the fear of failure, and I think failure is so powerful. I always tell my kids, and I've got 4 kids, and I've got one that's a head coach in Corpus. I've got one heading to college, and I've got 2 little ones. And I tell them, look, there's 2 things in life. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. It's so important, right? When you're in that phase of being comfortable being uncomfortable, nothing will ever kind of throw you off your feet. You'll always be able to get back up. And then the other thing is that don't be afraid to fail. You can learn so much more from failure than you can success. When you succeed all the time, you kind of get this thing that I'll never lose, and then and you basically are just stuck in that section where I'm like, hey, I'm the best, I'm never gonna lose, and never gonna get thrown off of my feet. And then it happens, and then you're like a deer in the headlights. Like, what do I do? Where do I go from here? The people who take failure and learn from that failure, and I failed plenty of times in my life, they grow and they become better than they were the day before. And that's kind of been the mantra. So I tell my kids, don't be afraid of failure. Failure's part of life, and you grow from that. And I think Kevin can speak to this from his story. You know, he had a little bit of difficulty in his life, but he got back up and he pushed on to the next thing. And he's in the place where he needs to be. And I think that we can all take a page from that book of Kevin and say, hey, look, you're going to fail in life. Don't be afraid of it. It happens. We need to embrace it. Be comfortable being uncomfortable, and just embrace everything and move forward. So
definitely, I would wholeheartedly agree with you there. And for me, failure is an option, and actually be prepared to fail, because actually, if you're not failing, you're not pushing boundaries either. So Austin, if you've got that comedian that's within you that you're just dying to get out, and you want to start doing that, just face the fear, my friend. Just go for it.
So two Englishmen walk into a bar.
No,
just kidding. Not the time.
Stop. Kevin, would you be prepared just to share some of your insight into what it's like to maybe bottomed out and then have to pick yourself back up again, and find that focus and what the driver?
Yeah, sure. I think that I said I've been a lifelong entrepreneur, and I think I have everything from mowing lawns as a kid on up to my latest venture, which just having a law practice as being an entrepreneur, because I don't know what's going to come through, and I have to generate. I eat only what I kill, and so and I have failed so many times. I cannot tell you how many ventures I've launched either alone or with somebody else that just didn't go anywhere. I had an art gallery in Shanghai for a year. It existed is all it did. It kept 8 people employed. I paid retail for the paintings that I took, and I left just with my capital investment back. So it was a complete break even. But for me, that was a success because so many of the others I just thrown money away on. And so, yes, you know, that's part of it, though. I really don't know where I'm going with this, but you have to steel yourself against the notion that failure is terminal.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody in life, whether you're spending your career working, pulling levers at Wonder Bread, or you're out on the street selling pecans, you are going to run into obstacles, and you've got to be prepared to deal with those obstacles. I love that. I've been writing stuff down that people say. The spectrum swamp, I love that. Learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I love that. And where are you in what you do? So you have to just know that no matter what you're doing in life, whether you're working for somebody else, working for yourself, the bottom's going to fall out in situations. Maybe you never have a financial problem, but your marriage dissolves. Maybe everything else is going well, but you have a kid that goes the wrong way and ends up on drugs or worse. And you have to be prepared for failure in one context or another, and you have to deal with it. That's life.
Definitely. For some reason, I had a random thought going through my mind as we're just talking here right this moment of actually through a lot of what we're faced with, adversity, failure, one thing that gets us through is humor. Now, without going to the full details of it, otherwise we'll go down a rabbit hole. Austin and I, we gather on a Thursday morning for a coffee. Now, last week we gathered and with another friend of ours as well. And I think it's probably safe to say we've all been going through some things and some experiences. I think I had my Bible with me. I didn't open it once in the hour we were together, but what we did do is we just laughed together. We just barely laughed together. And it was, from my perspective, Austin may disagree, but it was tonic to the soul. It was just what I needed at that time to just be able to just laugh. And it just let out some stuff. And I mean, it's kind of linked to change, because actually when you're faced with these difficult situations, just to be able to have someone around you could just have a laugh with, just helps to just refocus you and just put you onto a different kind of lane and a different kind of train of thought. And you're nodding away, Austin. Go on. Add something to it, my friend.
I totally agree. What I do for a living is ask people for 100% of their money and trust. It's pretty heavy. It's a pretty heavy topic, especially if you lose some of it. It's hard to face up to that. It's hard to lock eyes with somebody and say, hey, maybe we need to pivot because things haven't gone as well as we had hoped. And I think you have to bring levity to a situation. Everybody, I think Barbara, I mean, you guys have all talked about it. I think some of the stuff Barbara has said is actually things that I feel like is what I've tried to model in a lot of my marketing and communication about who I am. Like, you just can't take life too serious. I think we believe we're in control. I don't believe we are in control. I think I'm a big subscriber to the idea of providence, and none of us are going to get out of here alive. Like and you just the more serious you take yourself, I just think the more stressed you're going to be, the more unenjoyable life is going to be for you. Just do the best you can with what you got. Hang on, enjoy the ride. I mean, I think there's great liberation that comes with a resignment to the idea that you're not in control. And just, hey, man, you know what? I'm just going to have a good time. Just going to have a good time. And I think you see the professional athletes all the time. When you're trying your hardest to have X outcome, you aren't in control. You can do what you can do, but the sooner they accept the fact that all they can do is what they can do, the more dangerous they're going to become in their sport.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It was interesting when you just talk about just the smiling and getting through situations. Now, I've had the privilege of sitting down with Barbara on a couple of occasions and talking with you about your experiences, Barbara. And for some people, if they'd gone through what you'd gone through, they'd be down and out. They would struggle to recover. You made a conscious choice. You made a conscious decision to change your thought process, your attitude, and your actions, because you wanted to have an impactful life. And that word that was that I've just mentioned there, I think actually applies to each of us on this call here today. Actually, driving us is actually a desire to have an impact.
Right.
That it's not just about the service that we sell or the service we deliver for our clients. It's way beyond that, because there's something within our soul that's driving us to make impact.
Absolutely.
For me, it became a mission. And then we'll go around and just do some final words, because it became a mission, so that my mission is to make happiness the norm rather than the exception. Because each and every one of us deserves to lead a happy, healthy, debt-free, abundant life. And all of us here have talked about those things at some point in all of our conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And when you were led by more of a mission rather than just a paycheck or a job title, you'll impact the world. So
without a doubt, without a doubt. I've been very fortunate and very intentional since we moved to America. My wife and I, we co-founded KD Impact Consulting, and it was set up with a mission of doing everything for the glory of God. That's what it's about. And through everything we do, we're seeking to do the best we can. Are we perfect? No, but you show me a perfect human. But we're striving, So I hope that kind of resonates with others here as well. So as we wrap this up, what is maybe one thing that you have got out of this call today that really resonated with you to go and make a change in your own life now? And what would be one piece of advice that you would give to somebody who is listening to this now and maybe listening to it on a playback of what they ought to have as a takeaway from this today? Randy, we'll start with you, my friend.
All right. So, one thing that I can take away from this experience is just getting to meet, three individuals that I've never really got to sit down and talk to before, and hear three different stories that have given me insight, and have reminded me of my story and how my journey, I have to keep that in focus and really remember, hey, you've done a lot. Because I think sometimes we can kind of downplay what we've done in our past, and sometimes we look at our successes and say, well, that wasn't that great, that wasn't that wonderful, and we beat ourselves up. We're too hard on ourselves sometimes, and it affects our happiness. And that's one thing that Barbara was saying, is just, you really gotta lead a life to happiness. It's so important. And I really believe in what you said as well. key in is you do it all for the glory of God. I 100%, I'm in that same boat with you. I always make sure that everything that we do is looking at the glory of God, because I think that's one thing that our that the new generations and that our country has kind of got away from, and I really want us to get back to that, and I really believe in that as well. And so, one thing that I'm going to do today is I'm going to reach out to these individuals and thank them, and see if I can go through and meet with each one of you guys on a one-on-one basis. Get to learn a little bit more about you. You get to learn a little bit more about me, and hopefully, the mission of that is to become friends, and be a resource to each other. Hey, call me up when you have an idea. Call me up when you're down in the slumps. I'll be more than happy to talk to you, or a shoulder to lean on. I have no problem with that. I mean, that's one of the things that I love to do for people, and that's one thing that I've done in my community as a youth leader, not only for my family but for people around me in my community and in my church. So
awesome! I appreciate that so much, Randy. Thank you. Austin, what about you, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, I've just really enjoyed the discussion. I think one of the downsides of entrepreneurship is you kind of silo yourself at times, and sometimes you can kind of sit back and be like, "Am I alone on this? Am I the only one that's seeing this?" And so it's nice to. I mean, I really sound like a lot of the stuff you guys have said. Like I feel like I've said I've in videos. And you just wonder, like, is this not resonating? Do other people not see that? So it's always nice to hear that. I mean, what I would tell people is the same thing people told me when I was thinking about leaving, and I was kind of airing out, like, man, what am I trying to do? Which is really just another way of saying, how do you define success, right? I love that title. Like, you really need to define success. Like, if you don't chart the destination for your journey, how could you possibly know if you're on it? And I think all too often people define it with money or whatever. They let other people define it for them. That's step one of how to not be happy. And so I would just say it's never the wrong time to do the right thing. Like, caution to the wind a little bit. It sounds reckless, but you'll be fine. You'll probably be fine.
You'll probably be fine. I love that from a wealth manager.
It's not going to go how you think anyway. So you might as well just hold on and see how it goes.
I love that. That's awesome. Thank you.
Make a move.
See what happens.
And that's the words from our certified financial planner. So thank you.
What's the worst that can happen?
That's brilliant. Okay, Kevin, I'll allow you to follow that.
I'm going to take that. No matter what I do, I'll probably be fine. It'll probably work out. I tell you, I was writing while everybody was talking, and I wrote down something that each one of you had said, and I'm going to apply that. I already read 3 of the quotes, but also the conscious decision. I think entrepreneurs tend to be happy in what they do because they find their work meaningful. And you don't have to be an entrepreneur to find meaningfulness in what you do, but you need to look for ways to create value in your situation, in your relationships, in every conversation that lends to that meaningfulness. When you contribute to the meaningfulness, and when you're enjoying, when you're reaping that, you're sowing it and you're reaping it, then you feel rewarded, whether there's great monetary value or not, whether you're subsisting or getting rich. But it all comes down, in my mind, to a conscious decision. And that's why I don't understand. Nobody accidentally becomes successful. Nobody accidentally got rich. Nobody accidentally had a fabulous marriage and raised great kids. No, you have to make a conscious decision to do those things that lead to that goal. And like Austin said, if you don't have it charted out, how do you know if you're going to get there? And you don't have to think when I invest, I often think I'm 64 years old. I still think 20 years ahead. But you don't have to. You can go in 3-month increments and just say, this is my next goal. And, I learned a lot by being part of this panel. And I look forward to staying in contact with all of you. And if there's anything I can do, I would love to help be part of that iron sharpening iron experience.
Awesome. That's just fantastic. Gentlemen, I'm so appreciative of you giving up some of your time today to come and join us on this conversation. I was about to call it a fireside chat. You seem to like your fireside chats over here, but it's not like an English fireside chat where a proper fire. But hey, there you go. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And Barbara, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to come and join you on your show today. I love what you're doing. I love how you're helping people succeed and thrive. And you truly are an inspiration, and just love it. Just wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, for me, this started out. I mean, I resisted doing these for the longest time because it was like, ooh, that's not me, you know. But now I realize that, you know, we all have bills to pay. We all do. So, but people cannot buy our services or our products if they don't know who we are, what we do, and why we do it. And when that hit me, and I truly believe that that was just a total download from God, that, oh, Barbara, I guess you better do that. Give them a voice and give them an opportunity. Like Kean, when I said to Kean, he said, oh, I'd love to do that. I said, great. And so that's one of the things that I'm for you. If you're in the audience or for the panel here, if you want to do a show like this, feel free. Reach out to me. I like doing them. They're fun. You know,
You can tell.
They're all, you know, it's always the same theme, but the shows are always so different because we all have different stories. And it's when people know your story that I truly believe that comes into play when you're doing business with someone.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because people want to know who you are, what you do, and why do you do it? What is your story? And for myself, I spent the first 60 years of my life living by somebody else's rules. Not that I didn't have a great upbringing. I had a great family. I had, you know, but then I realized it was like, oh, yeah, I'm very different. You know, it's I was the more outgoing of the family. I was brought up in a very traditional type of family. Professional women don't wear red glasses and bright red lipstick. You know, you're very conservative. You guys have no conception of that, but that was something that we, you know, that had to live with, or and so that's why if you have gotten a grain of impact or a grain of, or just a comment, leave your comments below. Reach out. We're on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. We're on YouTube. And I would encourage anyone who is listening now or to the replay, reach out to these guys. They have your back. They want to help. And if you're struggling with something, please, please, please do not ever think that you have to struggle alone. I think it was Austin that said, we're in this together and we can do so much more together than we ever can on our own. So reach out. Let's have another show. Let's have a blast. You know, it's all in, but it's all in perspective. So thanks everybody for coming. Thank you for everybody who is listening. And you know what? Share it out. Tell your friends. And you know, like and subscribe, all those things on the social media kinds. And have an awesome day. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.